everybody and welcome on today's video. This is my ash tree. It's growing over several rocks. There's a series on how this came to be what it is today. It is planted in a very old and damaged blue Chinese pot. And yeah, there's quite a lot of rocks under this tree. It is planted on one rock, a second rock, a third rock, and there's even a fourth rock under all this thing. And well, it looks kind of nice. I'll bring you in closer. The most interesting part of this tree are the roots over the rock, of course. Because these ash trees, well, they look quite spectacular when they are in leaf, but that's because they have a compound leaf and it looks like they have a whole lot of leaves, but they don't. So until this thing is in full foliage, well, there's not a whole lot to see. But first of all, let's focus on these roots. So the roots are really nicely following these rocks, swell sandstones, I should say. And well, these stones have an interesting shape by themselves, so it's a little bit of a shame to not see them completely. So that's of course why I want to work on this. Here there were little holes in the rock, so I put an extra little rock which will slowly get clamped by all these roots. And so the whole idea is to lift this a little bit out of the pot. Here we have a second tree that is, well, screwed to the one in the front, and it's mainly there because I needed a back branch. As you can see, these ash trees, they heal over very quickly and then they start to fuse, of course, and I think in a year you won't see that these are two trees. And of course it adds to the quantity of roots. So I'm going to try to get this out of the pot and do my best not to make everything fall apart. So yeah, let's try that. I don't think that this pot has a lip. Not really. Maybe just a small one. Boy, this is going to be quite complicated to get it out without making the whole thing fall apart. But of course, every year that it grows, it's supposed to be a little more solid because all the rocks would be held together by all the roots. So now it's going to be a question of lifting it and then supporting it under it. Well, that looks kind of okay. I'm gonna put my hand under it. Right, that's it. And while I'm here, I'm going to try to find the drainage screens. That's one. And I think I have the second here. So that's good, okay. So I'm kind of happy with that pot. There's nothing wrong with that pot. I have a few pieces of moss that fell off, and honestly, well, that's all what's left of the soil that is not used by the tree. So yeah, I think I'm going to prepare my pots, put it aside, and then well, maybe fill it with a little substrate, because I want this tree to be a little higher in the pot, just to see the roots a little more. So I'll prepare the pot, I put the drainage screens back in, give it a little wash, fill it with some substrate, and I'll be right back. Well, it's not bad, but it could be a little better because in the back one of the rocks fell off, which is not a big disaster. I can always put it back. It was right here, so I know where it was. But on the other hand, that will give me an opportunity to have a look. So I want to expose a little more roots, so maybe it should even be possible to fix the fallen rock with a root that I get from somewhere here. I'll try to put it over it, and then maybe it will hold in the coming repot. As you see, there are some interesting roots here already, and I'm just going to try to get rid of some of the soil on the exterior, because this soil should be removed to push the roots a little closer to the stones, and by doing that, exposing more of the thick roots. So I think that's not too bad. You see, there's a nice root here. It's a little bit of a shame not to see that. That's the whole purpose of this operation. Try to unveil, unveil I think is the word, unveil some of the roots and unveil some of the rock. So this is a very nice piece of rock with some good roots under it. So if I can tuck these all in, it will make the whole thing a whole lot more interesting. But first I have to lose some of the substrate and the edges. Like this, I want really to, this has to come out. It has to be visible. That's the whole idea with roots over rock. You want to see the roots. So I don't think I'm going to cut these roots. I'll probably just leave them, and the weakest ones will slowly get exposed by this, to the sun, and well, get eliminated. That's the hard law of nature. And that's the hard law of the falling rock that I can fix. Probably. I'll find a solution. And I think I'm almost completely around. I am not going to touch the underside. I want the underside to become one solid root mat so that this whole thing holds together in a couple of years. But there's room for some improvement. But I think generally speaking, this looks kinda impressive, and it will even be better when I remove all the moss that I had to protect some of these roots. So I think I'm gonna put this back in the pot and then see how I can rearrange these roots to make it look even better. So let's get the pot. As you can see, there's quite a lot of substrate. It's quite deep. I think it's at least 4 centimeters. I'm going to try to lift this thing. And remember, I didn't remove any soil or root in at the bottom. I'll position this here carefully, like so. It's very high, so I'm going to try to wiggle it in a little, which already makes a centimeter of difference. All right, and now I think that I can work on the tree and the roots. A good turntable is always helpful, so what I'm going to do now is try to push everything that was growing outwards more inwards, and just by removing the remaining soil, I'll try to compress everything against the rock. It's windy today. My plastic pots are flying all over the place, like so. So this is good. So now I'm going to take a little bit of substrate, press this against the rock. And then fill this up. Now this portion should stay against the rock. A little more. And as you can see from this, I lifted the whole thing up at least 3 centimeters, so that's really nice. I think that this is going to be a good height for this thing. So here we have a nice thick root. I think it's perfectly okay to see that as a surface root, so I'm not going to bury this. Here I'm just going to add a little more soil. Pressing down the soil that is here between the roots and the rock, so that I gain a little bit of space to push it even further. And these will be the roots that will be forever in this composition. So I prepare everything, push this root against the rock, push this against the rock, firmly holding this. And from this portion on, this can be trimmed back in the next tree pot. But what I'm pushing against the rock now will be the everlasting root mat, because I'm gonna need a root mat in this thing to hold everything nicely and firmly together. Okay, I'm going to do the same on the side here. Still bounces back, well, just a tad. But then, yeah, the problem will be where this rock came out. That's here. So here I'm going to try to put that rock back. Well, I don't know why I should even, because it looks okay without it. But it's not really difficult to do that, so the only thing that I really need to do is push these roots against this rock, push with this rock against these roots, and drape these roots like so, and then tuck that in. I'll probably cover and try to protect these roots a little with some moss, but in the coming months that moss can be removed, and when everything grows it will hold the rock. I'm quite happy with that. There's also a little hole here. I don't really mind. This is a dead root, so that's not gonna help. But this is a perfectly fine root. There was a little rock extra. I don't know if I need that. Might put it here. I don't think I need it, so I'm not gonna use it. Just cleaning up the rest of the substrate here in order to press the roots against the rock. So it's always the same principle, and I'm thinking this is becoming kind of boring, so I'm gonna shut down the camera while I'm doing this, and when this is all tucked in nicely, we'll have a look. So no root prune. no nothing, because I don't know what roots are going to make it. Every little root will add to the well-being of the tree, so let's keep them. Yeah, well, it became t-shirt weather, which is absolutely nice. I'm just trying to tuck in some of the escape routes here, but I don't think that's going to be a big help. But what I want to do now, you see, I exposed a whole lot of roots, and I still have a little collection of moss here, so I'll try to protect these from the sun just a little. Also, the substrate is mounted up way too high, which is of course well, not good if you want to see the rock and the roots, but I think that I have to give this tree a chance to recover from this operation, and then of course I can, in the coming months, or maybe in summer, remove this moss. So this is going to be a tapestry of moss around the edges now, to protect everything. So this is also not very interesting to watch. The only thing that might be interesting is a little tip. Always start with the lowest parts of your moss, because otherwise it might get flushed away, and do the upper part afterwards. Well, and try to cover the upper part over the lowest parts. But you don't have to do every little root, of course. So I'll finish this, and then I still have one little job to do, which is cleaning up this rock with my toothbrush. It's a used one. I keep my normal toothbrush for my teeth. Makes sense. Alright, I'll be back when this is mossed. Everything is mossed up now, and well, the whole idea was to see a little more of the rock and the roots that are mature. So now it's going to be a question of removing that moss, and therefore you can use a whole lot of things: a toothbrush, some your tweezers, a piece of wood, anything you like. And this moss, I just will deposit it on the moss that I just applied, so it'll probably grow a little better then. But this, of course, is also a work that takes some time if you want to do it properly. Because this moss, well, I really like moss. I think it adds a whole lot to the character of a landscape, especially a rock planting. But yeah, you don't want everything to disappear, so there's always a fine line between nice and too much. So yeah, I'll just carry on removing moss, cleaning up the rock and the roots. So you see where the roots are mature, there I don't need that moss anymore, so there will be no moss on the rock. So it's scraping, scratching everything, and then of course a good watering will clean the whole thing up, and we'll be back for a final view of what this tree looks like in March 2025. And so I think all is done now. It's not perfect, of course, and again this moss will be removed in the coming months which means that more of the roots and the rock will be visible. But I think for a couple of years of training, this tree really looks quite spectacular, and I can't wait to see it in leaf. So I hope you liked this video. Thank you for watching and see you next time.